All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So market's basically flat again after a really kind of chop shop day, but with a lot of volatility. So we did have a pretty good sell in the morning after a little bit of a float up. We got Dallas Fed data that came in. It was very recessionary. So dollar index coming down, yields coming down a little bit, but again, no volume, right? You don't never short a tall market, and look how easily they float this back up. In fact, I was trading this with one of my clients this morning. We day traded this low, and I was kind of laughing about it at the end. And even though I knew this was going to happen, it never ceases to amaze me how easily they're able to float this back up. By the way, if you're interested in getting into that, it's $500 a month, but you make some good money there. In fact, I'll show you his P&L. That's just today here, so that paid itself off in spades just today. And that's basically one-on-one coaching that I do via Discord, coaching and consulting. So anyways, markets here, again, we're floating back up. Nothing terrible going on here. I will say, again, we've talked about red flags, yellow flags, that whole story ad nauseum. But there's some big red flags now. Let's look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, again, here's another one I didn't really even mention, but Coca-Cola gapping up, not a huge player, but it's a big stock, gapping up and selling off on earnings. We saw that multiple times here with IBM, not Amazon, Tesla here. That just, gapped right down. Netflix gapped right down, though that's recovered decently. So we're seeing some big money sell into some of this strength here. So that's a red flag. But what I was really going to point out is the semis. This is as bad as it gets here. They'll probably save this trend line one more time. That's what I think is going to happen here. We're peaking below it though. But the fact that this is not rallying up with the rest of the market, it's a big red flag. It's a huge red flag. And another one that's really starting to crop up today is IGV. This has been strong, right? Every day in these videos, I'm saying IGV is holding up, IGV is holding up, IGV is strong. And it's got decent consolidation here, but notice how the 20 MA is catching up to price. This should be going up. This should be rocketing off of that 20 MA right now. And it's actually in danger of losing it. Could it be a fake out breakdown? It's possible, but it shouldn't need to do that. You've got good consolidation. The 20 MA, when that catches up, that should act as a fuel to push it up into that 310 handle. So now we're seeing weakness we've seen weakness for a while on the semis, and now we're seeing it on IGV. There's not a lot of upside in tech here, to be completely honest. Maybe we could get a little bit of a pop on earnings. I definitely can't rule that out, but this is consolidated for, the whole month now, and you still can't push through this one little pivot there. There's a little bit of volume on it, but not a lot. Why can't the bulls push it out? Why can't the bulls push it? They should be able to have done it by now. And then you have other things going on here, like look at Apple. That's a pretty clean rising wedge. You could get one more bit out of it. You get up into this pivot, into this top side 170. That's probably cooked there. Nvidia, which has been very strong here, now starting to lose momentum again. Looks like kind of like a rolling top to me. Some of these leaders here are starting to look a little sketchy. Again, Tesla, we already talked about. That's holding that 160 area, but this is not, that's not a pattern of strength there. Again, we have Amazon coming up. We've got Google. Let's take a look at Google here. Google's been much better here, so that can still get a bid. But again, earnings is a crapshoot, so you can never really rely on that. And Microsoft losing that 20 moving average as well, though it did come off the lows. But again, right now, I think tech is kind of talking to us here, and it's telling us there's just not a lot of legs left to this rally. I think if the market's going to push up, it's going to be through the spiders and the Dow. And you'll probably see, just like we're seeing today, XLE do a lot of the legwork. So up, this is up almost 2% here on the day. That's not a terrible, consolidation pattern there on the XLE, especially on the weekly there. So nothing crazy going on at all. Though oil, a little interesting action, which we'll get into later. But that's kind of the way I see it right now. Now, and again, if we get over to volatility, let's look at the VIX. I think the VIX right now has, I would say, a nominal low at best in downside right now. I think the VIX right here is trying to carve out a bottom, even though it gapped up into the 20 today and then sold off pretty sharply. It's barely positive at this point. It's positive with the spiders flat to positive. With the spiders recovering all of that, the VIX has still managed to stay green. I think if this is the case, if we do push up one more time on the spiders, volatility has very little downside. And you might actually see the VIX kind of bid up or go sideways, very much like this in August, where it went sideways from August 10th to the 16th, whereas the spiders went straight up from the 10th to the 16th. So I think we're kind of getting close to that point where you see the SPY and the VIX start to bid up together, and that's usually your exit signal. That's your signal. It's time to get short here. For right now, as long as you get volume like this, 45 million shares at 3:37 p.m. I mean, the market's going to hold up, but it's telling you right now. I'm seeing signs here that we're on borrowed time. So that's the way I see it right now. Market's hanging in there though, and we'll respect it here for the time being. Obviously, earnings. I would expect tomorrow is probably be kind of a similar day to today, really quiet until Microsoft reports after the bell, and that's really the big one. Then we've got I think UPS, Texas Instruments, I think Visa, I believe Google as well. So a bunch of names here, and then obviously Amazon later, and then Apple next week. So those are going to be the big ones. But right now, this market looks very top heavy, specifically in the tech sector. Again, Spider's still upside is up to 420 if we can get a bid. Maybe they can hold us up into FOMC. That's certainly possible. Maybe the Fed pauses finally, and that's where we get that kind of blow off move. It's certainly a possibility that I've factored in really since the end of March, honestly. But that's kind of the way we're looking at it right now. Anyways, let's get over here. Another big red flag, Russell 2000. That's just a weekly bear wedge, right? And a monthly bear flag. So that's a huge problem. Russell not really doing anything here. Dow, again, still has upside to 343, but that's about it. You do have a nice little daily chart inside bar, but lots of resistance up here, a lot of resistance up here on the DIA at 343. So just be aware of that. We already talked about the semis. Again, in danger of that trend line. I think they save it one more time. It does not make a new high, though. IGV, I'll say it can get to 310 still. Nothing's broken, but this should be doing the opposite. When you have the 20 moving average upslope like that, and then you catch up to price and you have a little green candle like that, we should be pumping right now, not dumping. So definitely a sign there. Dow Transport's here, basically flat, hanging in there okay. They're up 0.25%. Kind of, it's above that 50 MA now, but again, this weekly pattern is not very good. Weekly bear pattern. So again, also hasn't made new highs since February. Very, very big red flag. All right, over to bonds here. So the 2-year, again, the yield came in a little bit with that data. Remember, the recession doesn't start until this inverted yield curve corrects. That hasn't happened yet, but the 2 year is getting a little bit of a bid. So we'll see what happens moving forward. It came off the lows. 10-year yield down 1.5. Nothing crazy there. This is still kind of just in a pattern. Same thing with the 30-year. Again, big picture, these are all just big bullish patterns on the bigger time frames, so just respect that. All right, XHB continues to be strong. Still resistance at 70. We'll see how that performs there, but that's been a good area that I gave to you guys, and it's holding up for now. ITB still holding that topping candle from last week as well, but it's holding up and showing a little bit of relative strength there as expected. And then VNQ showing relative weakness, as has been the case. I think this pattern fails at this point. It's just taken. So look at this. So you broke down and you had what? 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 candles before you broke down. How many candles have we had here, right? So you had like, a week or so of being in this range, and now you've gotten back above it, and you've been up here for 4 weeks, and you still can't push through it. Again, what's taken so long? If it's bullish, it shouldn't take that long to get through it. So I'm thinking it's less and less likely that we get to 85.50 on VNQ unless we get some type of bogus news or FOMC, something like that. XLF hanging in there okay. Still got this trend line. Once that breaks, you'll go down to 32.50 on the daily, but It's holding up okay. I think it wants to push to 34. So you might get a little bit more upside in XLF. And like I said, XLE might do the legwork for the spiders. Again, JPM's holding up fine. This looks like it wants to go test the highs again. That will certainly help out XLF. And BRK, Berkshire, reports later this week. If that gets a bid, that will help XLF as well, which will help the spiders and will help, help the market, because BRK makes a big, it's top 10 so on the S&P, so that can definitely help drag it higher. So just be aware of that. KRE junk, KBE junk, nothing's changed there. Broker dealers a little bit backing off a little bit here. Still a lot of res at 470 and a good weekly bear pattern. Crude here, so we mentioned that a little bit earlier. It's up 1.1%. Not able to get back above that 20 moving average, but again, I thought it would hold these moving averages, and it has. Still don't have a bias on it. I think you'll have to test 80. If you can get through 80, then you can go retest this 200. But if you put in a lower high there, it's probably going to go a lot lower. If it does go lower, $70 is your area, right? Pivot low. That's where you broke out from. So that's going to be a major area for that to hold. If it can't hold that, the original case is back on the table, where this goes down to 60, the $50 to $60 range. But for right now, it's hanging in there okay. We'll just leave it at that for now. I'm very neutral on it. Don't touch it yet. XLE, we talked about having a good pattern. It does. It's holding up okay. XOP, nice reversal. So had a little bit of a setback here last week, maybe some OPEX related. Got back below that 20 moving average, but a good engulfing reversal here. That's definitely something you can build off of. I still don't see a ton of upside. Maybe you could get to that 200 day, but that's really it right now. You might have a case, now that I'm just seeing this, you could put in, an inverse head and shoulder. It's possible. I just don't really see that really playing out right now with the way, in front of a recession. It just doesn't seem like that would make sense. But, it's something to watch there. We'll keep an eye on it later in the week. It hasn't triggered yet, so don't go long. Wait for something like that to trigger. And again, you still have to get through that trend line in the 200 anyway. So a lot of resistance up there, but it's acting better. OIH acting better as well. If this shapes up, this can have one more push. But again, remember, that's still a weekly inside bar. You never closed above 292.82. So just be careful with that. Nat gas getting a little bit of a bid. That will roll over in the next couple of days. Always like to see a asset or equity future, whatever, pump up a little bit before the rollover, and it's trying to do that here. Nothing terrible there on the weekly either, and that's hanging in there okay. If you can get above this red bar high at 238.30, it's going up to 260, 265. So that's going to be your near-term levels there for Natty, but that's hanging in there okay. Dollar index rolling over, so that looks like it wants to get to 100. If we zoom in here, you can see close at the lows of the day. Again, that, they gave you two scenarios here. We're going to either flag and then push up, or we're going to go to 100. And that looks like that is going to be the case here. So we'll be patient and wait for that level. Gold here, just hanging on, right? Just hanging on to that 1994 area. We closed 10 cents above it on Friday at 5 p.m. And it's peaking back above it here. So it lives to fight another day. At least this pattern, I hate to say it like that. Like it's in a nice uptrend here, but at least on this short time frame, it's living to fight another day here in the near term. If you can get back above this red bar, you could probably get up to 2040 or so. But again, dollar weakness will give it a tailwind, obviously. So we'll watch for that moving forward. Silver still holding that 20 MA. This still looks top heavy to me. Big thrust off the lows. It's still overbought. It still needs to pull back, but it's holding up well, so we'll respect it. Platinum did come in here. Big reversal, outside move, engulfing reversal. It doesn't mean it's dead, though. I just want to point that out. You did have volume there, but this can still go higher. If you can bounce up here and kind of hold this area by the end of the week, this can still consolidate to 1200. So just be careful with platinum if you're looking to short it. I generally don't advise shorting platinum anyway, because it's a very thin market, and this move can happen on almost a whim, right? I mean, I gave you guys the level 1040, 1045. It blew through that, and then within 7 days it was at 1140. So it can move very quickly, but platinum hanging in there for now. Just had a good reversal. Copper looks like it broke that trend line and confirmed now. So we'll see if you lose this pivot. 375 is your area on the daily. All right, let's get over to Bitcoin here. I'm losing my Bitcoin chart. There we go. I always lose this chart. All right, so I told you guys last week it was probably going to hold that 50 moving average, and it did. So that's where it is. It's hanging in there now. Now, here's the thing. Whoops. Here's the thing. If we start going sideways, no bueno. So you don't want to see that. You want to see this react sharply off of the 50. The weekend is over, so it should be able to do that if it's bullish. If not, and we go sideways, the top is likely in, and it's going to 25 very quickly. So just be careful with Bitcoin here. Again, weekly chart. That's an engulfing reversal there. So just be careful with that. I would still give it one more chance here. You know, if it can shape up and hold that 50 moving average and get back above, 28.5, then you can get to 30, 35, and then maybe you can get to 32, but I'm not really seeing it right here. The outlook is starting to look a little bit bleaker. And that monthly 20 MA, that's basically a kiss. I'll call that a kiss. And that monthly red bar high, that's also a kiss. So we'll be careful here. It's not behaving well. You want to see it bounce off that 50 moving average sharply, when tested in a bull market. It doesn't mean it can't still do it, but I think clock's ticking a little bit here on Bitcoin. Anyways, let's get back over here to the spiders. So market's closing about 10-12 minutes. And we're holding up into the close. So big surprise. Volume's light, 48.5 million shares here. And we're floating right back up. That's what happens when you have light volume. You never want to aggressively short in a dull market like this, and this is proof of it here today. So Microsoft earnings tomorrow, Visa, Google, we'll keep that on deck, and of course I will cover that later or tomorrow afternoon. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me at carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you all tomorrow.